Hey everybody, it's Barb from Making It Home. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different. I've decided that I'm going to do a simple DIY. This is something that I think is a little home related, and it's for all those people out there that don't want to buy things or find an alternative to things. I'm going to share with you my simple crochet recipe. It's not a recipe. You don't eat it. It's a pattern. Okay. I'm going to share my easy beginner crochet dishcloth pattern. This is something I learned. I altered the pattern that I had found quite a bit because I wanted it to be a little more simple and on my level. And I just loved the stitch from another pattern. But I kind of altered the size of it because I didn't like the size of it. And I altered the edging a little bit. And I just made my own little personal alterations to it. It's real simple. And this is what it looks like. See? It's a very lovely little pattern. And it's quite, this is the size I like. It's quite big, but it's not huge, and they work really, really well around the kitchen, and they work great for like wiping down the tables. I like them because they're pretty soft, and they soften up, of course, when you wash them, and they're cotton. I actually remember these from when I was younger. It seems like tons of households had them when I was young, back in the 70s and the 80s. They're just a simple home style little creation, and I thought it would just be fun to do. It's also my way of kind of relaxing. When I'm really stressed out, I'll sit down in front of the TV and I'll watch YouTube, or I'll listen to a book on tape or something. Book on tape. I am really dating myself today. Yeah, audiobooks. Yeah, that's the technology we have now, Barb. Does anybody even have tapes anymore? You just get a little skein, like about this big. I'm not sure where I got this. I think I got it from Walmart, but I may have bought it from Joann's, or I could have got it from Hobby Lobby, because who really knows? I buy yarn everywhere. Depending on where you go, and if you have coupons, they can be like $1, and they have tons of different colors. You can probably find a color to fit your decor. I usually go with just like the cream or the white. And you've probably seen in the background when I've been doing videos in my kitchen that I have crocheted curtains. I made those out of this yarn as well. So it's really easy. All you need is one skein, and actually you'll end up with some left over, and a pair of scissors. And I've got my lovely crane scissors that remind me of my grandma, because she used to have these when I was a little girl. And a size J, US size J crochet hook. And for everybody in the rest of the world, that's a 6mm hook. I will leave a link to the pattern in the description box below so that you can print them out for yourself, and you always have them on hand. Trust me, after making these a couple times, you don't even need the pattern anymore. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to be using a yarn bowl to help keep my yarn in, because I could not find, usually when you get a thing of yarn, you want to pull the yarn out from the center, and I, for the life of me, have issues finding that stupid center pull. So I had to pull from the side. So the yarn bowl is just to keep my yarn from flying across the table and making a run for it. So let's put this over here. It's easier, I think. What we need to do is take our yarn, and we're going to tie a slip knot. Make sure I got my hook. Tie a slip knot. And I like to do it this way. I wrap it around my fingers, and I pull a fold of it up, and then hold both and just tighten it. Put my hook through. Get over here. Get out of the way. And then pull the little tail and tighten it. So now it's on my hook. Now that you've got your yarn on your hook, our pattern says we need to chain 31 stitches. Now you guys will have to forgive me because it's been a while since I've done some crocheting. I've been doing a lot more knitting. My technique is a little rusty and I am not a professional crocheter. I've just been doing it for a really long time. You'll have to forgive me. So we need 31 chain stitches. What I do is I wrap it around, grab the knot, and that's how I start it. Pull 1, 2, 3, 30, 31. This yarn is a little stiff, so it's kind of hard to pull the stitches through. And if you're unsure if you actually did the right amount of chains, you can always check by counting them. So I'm just going to go, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30. So I need one more for that turning chain. And now what you want to do is flip it so that your tail, your working piece, is to your left. And we are going to do our first double crochet. So you want to wrap around the hook and you're going to go to your second chain, which is this one, from the hook. So that's the first one. This one right here is the second, and poke it through, wrap around your hook and pull it through. Now you've got 3. So what you're going to do is pull through 2, and pull through 2 again. And like I said, out of practice, and this yarn is not very, it's not easy to work with. It's not horrible. I've worked with worse, but it's not easy. So you've got your first double crochet, and basically what you're going to do is double crochet all the way across to the end of your row. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come back with your next step. So we're in the last few stitches here. I'm just going to finish up the double crochets. And how you hold your hands is really up to you. A lot of people have different methods of holding the hook or holding the yarn. This is just how I've been doing it pretty much most of my life. There's no right or wrong way. So last stitch, oops, last stitch. And now what I always recommend is going back and counting, make sure you got the right amount of stitches. So we should have 30 double crochets. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 30. So we have 30 double crochets. So now what we're going to do is we are going to turn for the next row. So we switch so that we're always working with our project to the left. Now we're going to chain 2, and that will be considered your first herringbone half double crochet. Now that we have turned and we have chained 2, we are going to do our first stitch. So we are going to yarn over, go into our next stitch, we're going to yarn over again, pull through, and then pull through one more time through the next stitch. And I know this is a little hard, and then you'll have 2 stitches on there. So then you're going to yarn over again and pull through those 2 stitches. I have got an easier method that I use where I use my thumb to hold the stitch in place, so I'll show you that. So you yarn over, put your hook through the next stitch, yarn over it again, leave it in this hook, and see how I'm using my thumb to hold that second stitch in place, and I'm pulling it through both the stitch and that second stitch. And then once again, pull through the last 2. So let me show you that again real quick. It does kind of hurt my thumbs, but I tend to see that it works better, and you can do it either way. So yarn over, put through the stitch, hold your hook in place, separate these two stitches, hold down that first loop and pull through both the stitch and the loop, then pull through the last two. So either way, it's up to you. I'll do the regular way once again so you can see that. So yarn over, go through the next stitch, yarn over again, pull through that first loop. And see why I try it the other way, because it just doesn't seem to work for me. And with this yarn, how the threads separate, it just is a pain to me. So I prefer my method. Yarn over, put it through, hold down that stitch and pull it through both of them. See how quick that is? And you can try it either way. So we're just going to do that to the end of the row, and then I'll tell you what we're doing next. So now we're getting down to our last few stitches. Oops, come on. Oh, come on. So we're working on our last two stitches. And sometimes it's hard to find the top of this end chain. So I just try and get as best a guess as I can. See, like I said, and it's very tight at the end usually. And see if you can see real close. This is what I do. I'm basically pinching those two stitches together and then pulling it through the last two. So here again, we're going to chain two. You can do this either way. I know I said in the pattern that I turn and then chain two, but chain two and then turn also works. I mean, it really is up to you. Now we did our first row of herringbone half double crochets. So now we're going to do the next row. You want to wrap around, and you're going to go into this, not the one right underneath. See the hole right there? You want to go into the next stitch and then start your herringbone half double crochets. So whenever you start a row, make sure you're doing it in the hole, or you're going to end up messing up. Once we finished all the way to row 24, then I'll come back and we'll do the next step. We are now on our 24th row, and I'm just gonna finish this row up. So now we're gonna finish up the last few stitches of row 24, and then we will be going on to our last main row, which is just like our first row. It is double crochet. So now we are going to see how big it's gotten. Ooh, can't even fit it in the camera. So we are going to chain two, and then we are going to finish this washcloth part with a row of double crochet. And it's just like with the herringbone half double crochet. You don't want to be starting in this stitch underneath your chain. You will want to be starting in that stitch, the next stitch. So just do your regular double crochet, and once you finish that, you get to the end, we are going to do an edging. Okay, so we're finishing up the last few stitches of double crochets. Oops, sorry, double crochets on this row. I know this end stitch drives me crazy, and I know I'm probably doing it wrong, but it's my way. Ah. Oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, we're going to put our edging around the entire washcloth, and how we start that is we are going to do a chain one, and I like to go back the way I came. It's just my personal preference. You can do it any way you want. So you're going to do a single crochet around the entire washcloth, and that will be your edging. Oh, for heaven's sake. I mean, I suppose you could do a slip stitch around this too, but I just do a single crochet. One of the tricks that I wanted to show you is, see, when I got to the end here where my tail is, where we started, let me get to that section. I'm gonna finish doing my, whoops, trying to do a double crochet. I'm gonna get there, so I'm gonna finish my single crochets. So I've gotten to that point where we actually started this whole thing, and here's my tail. One of the things I've done with when I'm meeting another tail is that you can just, let's see if I can get the dang crochet hook through there. Hopefully you all can see this. I lay down the tail across, see, here's the tail. I lay it down across where I'm going to do stitching, and then I just stitch over the top of it. And what that does is it tucks it in there, so I don't have to weave in my ends quite as much, because this one will be more secure. You can weave it in even after doing this if you don't want it to pop out. So I just lay it down, hold it there, and just do my stitches right over the top of it. And there will become a point where it just kind of pulls up a little, and that's fine. But it's kind of like a cheaty way of weaving in an end. I've seen people do this when they join yarns. So whatever works, you know, if you don't have to weave in an end, I'm all about it, because that's like a crocheter's nightmare. So we're just going to keep going, like I said, all the way around, and we're going to single crochet until we get back to where we started from. Okay, so we've now made it back to the end where we started. So we're going to clip this. I always like to do a little bit of a tail, give myself some room, and then you just wrap it around and pull it through the last loop you got there and tighten it and weave in your ends. And for weaving in the ends, it's really, I mean, there's so many methods of doing this. I have a very janky way of doing it. I know it doesn't, you know, it's not perfect, but I just pick a couple loops, and I like to tie mine sometimes. I know this is probably very good crochet etiquette or whatever, but you know what? I'm not perfect. My stuff's not perfect. I don't expect perfect, and it has my personality. So you just kind of go through, find loops, and weave it in back and forth. I've watched videos on how to do this, and I still haven't figured it out. It's frustrating. That's kind of why I do that trick that I showed you at the other end when I'm joining yarns, because, you know, if there's an easier way, I'll do it. So I'm fine with this. It's my personal washcloth, so you just snip it, and there you go. You have a finished washcloth, and it's like the perfect size. At least I think it's a perfect size. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. We post videos once a week on how you can nurture a simpler, happier, healthier home. If you like this type of content, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you always know when we have a new video up. And just in case you're wondering, this right here, yeah, I need to color my hair. I am a natural brunette. I just started going gray when I was 14, so I'm not sure exactly when it happened, but my entire head is pretty much white now. I'm not ready yet. I'm just not ready. I have not weaned myself from the bottle. Okay, so Erin says I say that way too much. Okay. I love that guy. What's that guy's name? What's his name? He was in that movie with the guy. What's his name? Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci, and he was in one of my favorite movies, My Cousin Vinny. Oh, I love that movie.